What if the thing you want is actually around you right now, but you simply can't perceive of it because you aren't an energetic match to it? What if you simply let go of wanting it? What if you simply let go of believing it's not here? And what if by doing that, you allowed that thing to actually come into your life? What if you were able to simply energetically let go of needing to control it at all, of needing to figure it out, and then you finally allowed it in? So in this video, what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you that the thing you want is actually around you right now. It is simply invisible to you due to energetic resonance. It is invisible to you because you believe it's not here. It's invisible to you because you're looking and searching for it and therefore pushing the realization of it away. So this is something that completely transformed my life. When I began to embody it and realize it's here now, because then I let go of the believing it's not here and the searching for it, which was pushing it away. Now, to use this as an example, the person that I am in a relationship with, my girlfriend, she was in my life for 5 years. We were like best friends, basically, really close friends for 5 years. And if I look back, I could see for the last year or two, there was an opportunity there for sure. I mean, the opportunity was probably there the entire time, but due to energetic resonance, literally neither of us were really perceiving of it as even an option due to some inner work that we had to do and due to simply believing it wasn't here, which is interesting. And the thing is, for many people, what blocks people from realizing something is there is a lot of times they're looking. You know, it's funny, I asked my girlfriend this question. I said, what happened energetically before, you and I, basically what happened is we went on a trip with some friends to Costa Rica, and it was a trip where it was a lot of fun. There was some inner work that was involved. It was actually a plant medicine thing where for like a year or two, I hadn't done that at all. And then we basically used our system. We had a system out there because we used to run retreats out there, and we did it with just close friends. So it was literally like 7 of us or 6 of us that went. And when we went out there, it was as friends, and through being there, through basically being with each other for that extended period of time, there was like an awareness of energy that was under the surface. There was a vulnerable conversation that was had, and there was a kind of like a realization that, there was a potential for more than what was there before. And that was what started the process, and that's what then brought us together. But before that, I remember asking my girlfriend, like, what happened before that? Like, we were friends for 5 years, and then, and definitely vulnerability was a part of that coming together. So in a way, the vulnerability was in a way of bridging, I guess, the energetic resonance to it actually happening. And of course, on the other side of vulnerability is a fear of rejection. There was a lot at stake because we're such close friends. We were afraid that if we would have done something like this, that maybe it would have messed up the friendship. It would have got confusing with friends that are overlap, friend groups. It was all these things that we were afraid of. But eventually, that vulnerability was a conversation that happened that revealed more underneath the surface. Now, and I could say confidently that in my life, there are different moments where vulnerability was the thing that actually allowed me to kind of open up more and create more connection in different ways in the past. Now for her, I remember asking her what she did to actually, in a way, kind of allow me in. And what was interesting is right before her and I actually went on this trip with some friends and everything, she said that she was clean. I'm actually in Austin, Texas right now. And she, what's funny is for 5 years, her and I both had dual locations in Austin and Venice, California. We both went back and forth. And actually, I moved out here because as a friend, I came out here to visit her. And then I realized I didn't want to be in Vegas. I was in Sedona at the time, and I didn't feel like living in Sedona long term. I ended up moving out here after I came and visited her, simply as friends. And then what's funny is I was going back and forth between Venice, and I never really knew why Venice, because everyone would say, Venice, California. They'd be like, oh, there's so many homeless people, all these things. But I was like, I don't know, I just feel a resonance to it. And we'd go back and forth. And what was interesting is we both did that for a while. I actually sold her a car that I had years ago as well, which was interesting. We had these overlaps in our life, even when we were friends, and it was kind of like we were always kind of in each other's peripheral, but just like labeled each other as friends, and that's what felt safe. But I remember asking her, what did you do like right before you attracted like me or this conversation or whatever? And remember, one of the things she said is that when she was closing things up here in Austin before she moved full-time to Venice, which is a few months before we went to Costa Rica, she said she just completely let go of needing to date. And what was interesting is almost because she wasn't attached, she knew she wasn't going to meet her person out here in Austin. And what she said happened is that within 1 week, she got hit on by like 3 or 4 different guys, and she had like this huge influx basically come in of like options. And what she said was, because she knew she was leaving here, it wasn't important for her to meet her person. But because it wasn't important, she then had all these options coming at her. It was like she was loose and she knew she wasn't committed to like having to make that work. So it was like her energy opened up, and then she had like a few options of people that wanted to date her right before she left. So and I remember because we were friends at this time, sharing everything with each other. And I remember this phase. I remember she was telling me about this. But what I thought was interesting is one thing she had to do is she had to let go of it being important. And then when she moved out to California, what was interesting is it's almost like there was a letting go of needing it to happen and kind of like almost an acceptance of the process. And then when we went on this trip, it was like, once again, it was just friends. There was no pressure. Now, eventually the pressure kind of came up in different ways, almost in a way that made her and I both aware that there was something more underneath the surface. Part of that included a friend of ours that came, who's also a woman that kind of like, not triggered her, but made her aware that there were feelings that she had for me, my girlfriend, because it was more than just friends. Like she was, it's very weird and interesting, the synchronicities that came up that allowed this whole thing to happen. But part of that was, kind of like the catalyst of this other friend that we had come that made her aware of it. But it was all kind of meant to be. Even the very first, even getting on the flight, there was a part of this that made us aware, and part of that was I was in first class. She was behind me in premium economy, diagonal. She could see me, and then there was the friend that we were going with. She got upgraded to first class out of nowhere, and it just so happened that her upgrade was right next to me. And for 3 hours, her and I talked, and then my girlfriend, who wasn't my girlfriend at the time, was watching us talk, and it started making her aware that there was more there. It was a very interesting kind of like synchronicity thing that happened. It was kind of like can't even be explained. But we were around each other for years, and then there was almost like a timing to things that just happened. So we could say that the 5 years was a waste, and but it was almost like there was, that was when everything was ripe to actually happen. So the reason I'm sharing all of this is because some of the things that had to happen for this to actually happen were recognizing that we were around each other the entire time. What was blocking it was a vulnerable conversation. What was blocking it was Also, I'd say the attachment to the old patterns. Because both of us were finding ourselves kind of like searching for old patterns. We would find ourselves in old dating patterns. And that definitely would block us from realizing each other, which I found very interesting. And when our energy was tied up with these old patterns, it would block kind of like something new from coming in. So we could say that due to energetic resonance, which is kind of like an esoteric term, but one of the things that you could say as well that is a huge block that very often blocks people from realizing love, money, abundance, opportunities, etc., is importance. Anytime you make anything really important, you create pressure. Now think about it when we talk about that of attracting love. If you make it very important that the date you're about to go on results in them seeing your value or worth, you will create resistance. If you make it very important that it continues on, guess what happens? You create pressure for the other person, which they can feel. It's that person has then become someone you're connecting with. That person has become a means to which to meet it basically ends to a means to an end. A means to the end of you feeling worthy, whole, and complete. So it creates resistance in that way. And what's funny is my girlfriend said when she was here, she let go of needing any person she dated it turning into anything. She let go of all of it, and then all of a sudden she had all these opportunities. Which is interesting. Because for a long time, people will feel blocked. Those people were all around her or in her orbit already too. It's like they could feel something energetically shifted. And we live in a reality, in a universe, where everything is based on energy. And think about it. The more you chase anybody, the more they run away. The more you want, the more you lack. There are many times in my past where I can see that the wanting of something created a block, but then when I moved into the energy of already having it, the energy of being it, the energy of surrendering to God or the divine, it energetically shifted things. So realize that when you let go of believing that the ego has to figure it all out, you will let go of the resistance that the ego creates. You will let go of the importance that the ego projects. You will let go of that energy that's based on survival or fight or flight instead of allowing. So a huge part of the shift that you can create inside of yourself is on realizing first off that when it comes to importance, you're good either way. Whether it happens or doesn't happen, this is something you don't have to control. This is something you can allow God to bring into your life. This is something that if it's meant to be in your life, you will get synchronicities in your life that will bring it together. And if it's not meant to be in your life, it's not something that you need to fight for to keep into your life. It's something that will just naturally happen. By trying to control, that's what creates resistance. And when you think about chasing, think about it. That's a form of control. It's a form of trying to claim what you think isn't yours naturally. You don't have to chase what is naturally yours. And when you're in an energy of non-attachment, you're in an energy of magnetism. It's magnetic to be good either way. It's magnetic to trust God. It's magnetic to let go and to self-accept. This is another aspect of it. When you become aware of why you want what you want as well, that's a powerful place to be. Because people will look to the external and they'll say, I want this external thing. Once I get this external thing, I will feel whole and complete, or it will mean I'm validated, etc. Once again, it becomes a means to an end. Not realizing that that end that you want is actually an emotion. It might be to feel more secure, to feel more whole, to feel more love and connection. Those are things you can feel right now. But because you're trying to control and you're searching and you're looking, you infuse that it's not here now. This is why I say follow the energy when it comes to getting clarity in your life and trusting that. Like in my own business, something that I can see as a cycle of myself is I've gone through many patterns in the past with kind of like in childhood, having a certain familiar dynamic. Then in a 9-to-5 job, having certain familiar dynamic. Then in doing what I love, it's like I created almost like not a prison, but I've created like boundaries that I have to stay in that then creates like me feeling trapped. And then I try to figure things out from the head. I try to think about it, creating more resistance. And what I've learned is if I just simply follow the energy of what excites me and I own that, that's where all the magic, the insights, the opportunities, the synchronicities come. So when I'm in live events, it brings me a lot of energy when I run live events. When I am running a 21-day challenge, which is something else that I do, it's like a group virtual container, I'm excited about that. When I'm doing things and running things I feel obligated to, things I don't really have a passion for, but I should be doing, it creates resistance. Things that other people look at my business and say, Aaron, you should be doing this. You should be doing high-ticket coaching program. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. You can make so much money. And I'm like, I know I could, but I'm actually passionate about other things. Passionate about making content, passionate about live events, passionate about interacting with people. If I just follow that energy, I believe there'll be more success that comes from that than if I follow the energy of whether the money makes sense. And I could be, this last couple of years, I've done this the entire time. It was actually maybe more in alignment for me to just focus more on creating content and creating ways to create content that are more fun for me. Like when I go back to LA soon, I'm in Austin right now, I'm going to be building out a content team. Have people that will pull content out of me, creating consistent content every week, as well as running more live events. Maybe having a place I run consistent live events. Focusing on that aspect of my business, I believe, will grow the front end of my business, and it's where I'm actually passionate. I could have been doing this the entire last 3-4 years, but I hadn't committed to it because there's all these other aspects of my business I should have focused on. But I wasn't actually as passionate. So what I believe is by focusing on my passion, focusing on what I love, everything else will figure itself out in the future. If I grow my audience bigger and bigger, it's like I'll have more opportunities to do multiple different things. But I can refocus on that because when I started on YouTube back in the day, I was just focused on YouTube and I loved YouTube. Focused on creating content, but then life gets more complicated. I start doing more things. I start spreading out my energy. Then I'm like, where do I get clarity? I'm like, wait, what if I go back to the thing I love doing? Which for me is creating content, engaging with people, doing the hot seat coaching I do, interacting with people, teaching. It's around me the whole time. Like this realization has been around me for a long time. I wasn't an energetic match to it, partially because I believed I had to do all these other things. I was attached to what I should be doing and what other people expect me to do, etc. But a huge shift happens when you start realizing where the patterns are, and instead you start following the energy. So, if you think about it from a scientific perspective as well, think about it. If there are 11 to 15 million bits of information around us at any given moment, and if of those 11 to 15 million bits of information, our brain can only interpret up to 100 bits per second of information, that means out of the 11 to 15 million bits of information, almost all of it is invisible. We are literally only perceiving that which we are the energy of, that which we believe, that which we are attached to, believe, or is what's active. So it's not about making and creating our reality. It's about making the invisible visible. And to make the invisible visible, it is both a mix of an energy shift as well as a taking action shift. So you could say it's about embodying. When you embody the version of you that is abundant, you're not going to be trying to manifest abundance. When you naturally have abundance come into your life, you're going to be an energetic match to it naturally comes in. You don't have to say affirmations to get it to come in. When you start embodying the version of you that is loving and connected, love and connection will come into your life. You could do that through gratitude as well, feeling the gratitude for where love is already in your life. When you're not attached to outcome and trying to control things, you won't be creating resistance. You'll allow love in more easily. You see, there's a huge shift that happens when you realize that the common denominator is your energy. And when you shift your energy by shifting and letting go of attachment, or you shift your energy by choosing to be a new version of yourself, choosing to be vulnerable, choosing to embrace the uncomfortable emotions, you'll find that you feel more free. Resistance is created from attachment, from importance, from trying to control, instead of allowing and trusting God to flow through. So realize that there's a certain level of surrender here, and there's a certain level of being aware of your energy and how you feel. And instead of focusing on trying to figure it out from the ego's perspective, focus on getting into the energy state of your purpose, your passion, what you love. Follow that thread of excitement. It's interesting, whenever I run a live event, within a few days of running a live event, as I lead up to it, I will get recognized so many more times than any other time. Like I've been doing what I do for a while. Every now and then someone will recognize me from YouTube and come and say hi. What I find interesting is when I'm in a state of running a live event, it puts me in a higher energy state. I don't do anything different. It's not like it's not just people from the event finding me because I'm in a certain city. It's like literally just random people. Oh, I've watched your videos. But it's like, what is different? It's so interesting. There was one time I ran a live event, and from the airport, or from the hotel Airbnb I was staying at to the event space, I got recognized like 4 times. And it wasn't from people coming to the live event. It was more of a VIP, intimate live event. It's like, what is happening here? Could it be that like my energy lights up more when I'm running live events and I'm in a different space and then people recognize me more? I don't know. Not saying I need people to recognize me or that so that I'm a special person. That's why I'm telling you this. I'm just saying it's like very interesting to me. So what if you light up more when you're in your purpose and your passion? What if it's like when you light up and you're in that state, out of the 11 to 15 million bits of information around you, the 100 bits per second that you perceive of are different because of the energy state that you're in. Think about it like there's like different energy states that you're in, and in those energy states you perceive of different realities and people perceive of you differently. So if you think about it like an energy state where I have to control and make things happen, an energy state where I'm figuring it out from level of thinking, it's a certain level of resistance. But then in an energy state where I'm like, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm going to trust the divine to flow through. I'm going to get into a live event or putting myself, a lot of that, by the way, is allowing the divine to flow through at the live events. That's why it feels so good. But imagine I'm being that version of me, allowing the divine to flow through, letting go of importance, not trying to make things a means to an end. It's a different energy. And out of the 11 to 15 million bits of information, I perceive of the 100 bits per second that are in alignment with that part of me that's lit up. And then somehow, people also feel that off of me. Like I believe that my social media, as I focus more on my social media, creating content and doing live events, Part of the reason I think it will grow is not just that I'm creating more content. Part of it is that the energy underneath the content is I will be in my zone of genius more, I'll be lighting up more, and people that then perceive of me on Instagram or YouTube will almost like subconsciously feel that energy, and then out of the 11 to 15 million bits of information, I'll just perceive of a reality where there's more people paying attention to the content that I'm creating. So think of that for you. It's not about just figuring it out and trying to control. It's about choosing to embody the excitement, the energy from that level of action, but realizing that there's something greater at play to flow through you. And that when you allow the divine or God to flow through you, you're in a higher vibrational state of consciousness. You then literally perceive of more in alignment with that state of energy. So instead of trying to control, instead of trying to chase, instead of trying to fix, instead of trying to get the solution, instead of looking for clarity, instead of looking for love, instead of looking for all of this, focus on the energy and taking action. Both letting go of the beliefs, the attachment, the importance, and all of that, but letting something greater flow through you. So for me, vulnerability was a huge part of bridging that gap to energetic alignment. Sharing how I really felt. Being vulnerable enough to go into the risk of messing up a friendship. Getting rejected. What if it wasn't felt on the other side and it was like weird? What if on the other side of that, the importance can block? And when you let go of importance, you're letting go of the resistance, which allows you to perceive of the 11 to 15 million bits of information, the 100 bits per second that actually resonate with it being natural for you. Because remember, by the time you attract love, by the attract abundance, or whatever, it's going to be natural. It's going to feel natural. And there might be a little bit of uncomfortable energy that you're not used to feeling because you might be used to scarcity. You might be used to being single. But that vulnerability, that ability to put yourself out there, that ability to embrace those emotions, to allow them to become more comfortable, is a huge part of this process. So realize that the main key to energetic resonance is really your energy. It's letting go of attachment, letting go of the prior beliefs, letting go and realizing that as you do that, you can then make a choice to embody the energy before you experience it on the external. Embody the passion and feel the gratitude for what's already in your life tunes you to it already being here. Now, one of my most popular meditations is a meditation for raising your dominant vibration. So over almost 3 million plus views on it. Read the comments to see what's possible. Do that meditation next to wire in this higher energetic state of consciousness and watch what comes into your life as a result of you doing this meditation for 21 days. I'm going to go ahead and link that meditation right here.